Yo, what is up everybody? Welcome back to a brand new video. This one is going to be going over Kraven the Hunter. His deep dive has just been released and there's some things I really want to see because it actually looks like there's a bit of originality when it comes to Kraven the Hunter, thank God. And some of the abilities that are coming in, especially the traps and the return back of the root mechanic. So yeah, we're going to talk about that in a second. I'm sure that a lot of people are going like, Rich, where's the update? Where's the update? Basically, Kabam have submitted to Google Play and Apple iTunes the update, but they haven't pushed the button live. Those companies, not Kabam, but you know, Google and Apple, so it's up to them to push the button on that. So yeah, that's what I want to do in any case, not to do the update, but I want to come back to talk about something that I'm excited for, which is a big rarity when it comes to this game and new champions. And what I really mean by that is that the problem for me is I do feel that after playing this game for nearly 7 years, that originality when it comes to new champions is just not there, especially in previous years when it's been a case of like copy and paste abilities and unique playing styles is just basically like, oh, have we got the Petrify debuff? Well, we'll whack it in. Oh, is it a case that like the Fury, passive Fury, or you know, this champion that does degen immunity, and it's just like it follows the same pattern and there doesn't seem to be any originality. Now it finally feels that we've got a bit of originality. In the deep dive here you can see several different things, like from a defensive standpoint, him absolutely being a nuisance, and from a proactive kind of like movement standpoint, you can do stuff like this. Putting down things like right here, which are traps, and also rooting enemies in place, which you just saw in a moment. We're going to see that right there, rooted in place as part of here, like they can't move, or as part of the trap system. That's the root debuff right there, top right hand corner. And as well, it's kind of good to see something that is a combination of various different things. Suppression, so you're not able to build any power, and as well disorient, which you know is helpful in taking on certain champions. This is going to be I am actually looking forward to getting Kraven. Like, I really want to get Kraven now. And that's just because there's something that's original. And also because it's a one champion month. And that's something that's very important. Like, as much as I kind of go like, oh great, 2 new champions coming into Marvel Contest Champions, I just don't feel like when we have a 2 champion month that there's enough focus point, and that's why you either have that in a positive and negative. A positive was what we had with Spider-Ham last year. That one champion to focus on, that players were like, okay, this champion's really good, I'm excited to get him, a lot of other players were excited to get him, and then it's the case he delivered. The difference is with Silver Surfer back in 2019, where he basically did not deliver, but still it was good to say like, right, well, we're focusing on one specific champion. And even better when Kabam actually have a good idea for something original that's been put into the game, which is indeed the trap and the root mechanic being in this particular fight interaction. I think the great thing about this is that what it will do, it will completely mess up the sequence of enemy AI. Enemy AI as it is quite bad and quite annoying, quite frustrating, especially with some very unorganic movements. I mean, you can see like there, that magic is just kind of like there, like free flowing, some heavy attacks, looking like an absolute idiot. But as well from an attacking standpoint in the defensive line, this could be an incredibly frustrating defense-based champion, which, you know, you put on Alliance Wars defense and players are not going to be too happy. But here's the thing, this is why I'm excited about this champion, is because it can do this and make a complete mockery of enemy AI, especially from a point of what damage it can scale up and do, which isn't too bad, especially with this 5-star, which looks to be at 565, taking on the likes of some of these champions right here. The champion as well has like lots of different kinds of utility, I think as well with dealing with evade-based champions. And now if I was looking for like options to take on certain things, especially like Mordo, especially like any other champion that evades and also has the likes of auto block, you know, with the current scheme of things being with I mean, I don't want to repeat myself from the video I made the other day, but if you're going up against wanting to find an option for Penny Parker, at least to say a true accuracy champion going up against an auto block champion, it's just a nice little thing to kind of like go with the interaction. Even more so for going against Overseer. The bleed damage looks relatively nice as well, but it's like, you know, this is just so much more fresher and newer because of the trap system. Laying down traps is a new thing. You can see there's a trap right there. Spring activates the trap, and there you go. You might have to completely change your motion of evading and getting away with this, getting away from this champion, because you're like, oh, I better kind of pull back, and that's one of the main things you might have to do. The concept of pulling back away from where is a trap on the floor is something that, again, is new, it's fresh, it's something that I can imagine Kraven will kind of look into in the future about, you know, okay, well, are you going to be pushed against the wall? And that could be a big problem if you're going up against the enemies, going like, oh, if I'm suppressed and back at the end of the wall, then you're like, oh, how do I get out from here? And that's going to be the thing. You'll be going, well, I'm going to be not able to evade the trap, and I'm constantly suppressed against the wall. But in the same way, that can be an advantage to you if you've got Kraven the Hunter and pushing the enemies up against the wall. You can literally just have like a wall fest, and as well kind of suppressing power at the same time, meaning that you don't have to have quite so much of a care in the world if you're suppressing the power of the enemy. So it definitely has its advantages, you know, having Kraven the Hunter, and does make him a very exciting prospect. Now, it is a bit hard to see like where the damage ramp up will be, because it's a 5-star 565 unawakened, and yeah, it doesn't really seem like there's anything there, especially when it comes to crits, because you kind of think, well, he builds precision quite nicely, but at the same time the rate of crit and rotation is not really there. Extensively relying on things like the debuffs in order to do some element of damage improvement. I mean, there we go, we're like with a special attack, and just like, well, that's not a huge amount of damage. So again, is it a case you've got to rely on the trap based system, because you're not essentially seeing big yellow numbers? And that's the kind of early maybe warning flags about this champion. But you know, that 651 tick which may come in from bleed effects could be the way to go. I mean, look at the ramp up right there with that. That's pretty nice. SP2 rotations are maybe the way to go, but you know, an SP3 can help out in some ways. But I just think that it may be one of these cases of having looked at the trap system, that direct damage based movement, in order to try and get yourself some more kind of like quicker damage. So that's going to be one of the key things as well, to the extent of damage you can do. So yeah, and that's kind of like what I can see right here, the warning flags. The warning flags are basically the damage rotation. I mean, look, it looks okay-ish, but then it's just seeing where that big punch of numbers is, because what, 74 hits right there. I'm just going to stop right there. 75 hits there on a 6-star awakened. I want to say this could be rank, we'll assume it's rank 3. And yeah, if it's a case that we're rotating around some good numbers, it's just a case of like, well, what is that going to do when finishing off the enemy? Like, what, 91 hits to take it down? And you know, there are other champions that kind of like are quicker in rotation. I mean, look, 95 hits to do the damage, and that is just the thing, isn't it? Like, should this be within about 40 to 50? Is this indeed a 6-star rank 3? Is this a rank 4? So it's just finding out that. It looks like there's critical bleed, so that does give me some hope, but I just want to kind of keep an open mind about this when it comes to the damage potential that is being displayed right here. It's not really of worth to have suicide masteries on, so it kind of like doesn't really work in the favor of this as a displaying standpoint, and that could be like a big thing between players going like, hey, great, we got this new mechanic, but is it a case you want to see the big yellow numbers? You might not see it. But you know, this is all about like testing those things out. Either way, as I said, like the exciting thing is the mechanic here, root, and also how traps work, because again, it's something new, it's something more strategy orientated, and it could indeed be fun. The champion will still be usable in things like Cavalier difficulty if it's, you know, that's the criticism, but yeah, it's just a case of like finding out the extent of how many hits it does take to take down certain champions, especially because, you know, I don't know if I'm seeing like a huge, I don't know if I'm seeing like, you know, what I'd want to see, which is indeed like, you know, this right here, if I covered over the screen incorrectly, but yeah, just kind of let you know, this is my concern is kind of like this. It's like, okay, well, it still takes 92 hits to take down the champion to 4% health, and yeah, okay, the suppression side of things, or not suppression but a debuff, but suppressing a champion by the close to the end wall and keeping up damage rotations quickly and doing lots of damage is great, and getting critical bleeds is great, but at the same time, if it's 92 hits or like just close to like 100 hits from what is potentially a 6-star, that could be rank 4, right? If it's rank 4, I think that's kind of like a bit too that's a bit too high in hits. It should be a lot lower. And if it's rank 3 6-star, that kind of comes close, but still this champion is going to be more on the line of specific, as opposed to being like, you know, the big damage dealer or extensive kind of like huge big yellow numbers, which is just not, which yeah, will be kind of like the big thing for players to kind of have a look at. And as well, this is not suicide mastery orientated, so again, like lots of things to see down the line. Thoughts in the comment section about this. There are some like meaty little things when it comes to improving certain champions and who it interacts with, advantages that Kraven gives, especially with the likes of Squirrel Girl, Sasquatch, because that's another thing as well. There's some extra value to Venom Pool and Tigra and Spider-Man Classic. So yeah, I mean, thoughts in the comment section down below about this. But yeah, it's just one of these things where it does look good. I like some of the mechanics. I just need to keep be a bit skeptical about the way that the rate of damage to volume of hits is there, because then you might go like, well, right, well, this may not be something I want to take into things like Abyss of Legends, because that's another thing as well. Like volume of hits in Abyss of Legends could be a bit of a red flag. You know, if it's taking ages, you might be like, oh, well, the damage to hit ratio isn't very good, and I've only got a limited amount of hits in the likes of Abyss. But then it could be good for something like Labyrinth of Legends. So there are various different options for it. I'm not going to, you know, totally poo-poo it. But in any case, that has been a video. What are your thoughts on Kraven the Hunter? Put it in the comment section down below. Make sure as well to check out some other content located on screen right now. And I'll see you in the next video whenever that will be. Bye-bye for now.